My medical history starts back to around about 1977. I was quite a poorly child, unbeknown at the time. I was put down as bronchitis and stuff. Once diagnosed, I actually had an irregular heart complaint, which was caused through a patent ductus, which is a small airway when you're born that generally closes up, or might need a minor operation, close that hole, and then you go on to live a full and active life. But at the period I was diagnosed, the work could not be done at that point, as the damage had already been irreversible. So it was then linked at that very precise moment of I would suffer with PH as well. The PH really didn't affect my life until I got into my 20s. And things then started to deteriorate at a much, not a rapid rate, but a rate I could actually feel on a yearly basis. So from being able to go rock climbing at 18, 19, by the time I was 25, I couldn't run anywhere, I couldn't cycle. And the PH took over and eventually transferred from being looked after by a heart specialist to solely lung specialist, because it's a PH which eventually will either cause the need for transplantation or death, unfortunately. But I don't have that PH like a lot of people have PH, where you just diagnose later in life or young in life, but you have that shortness of time. Mine is a gradual pattern, so I sympathise so much with those like a PH, and they haven't had to live with it, and then suddenly their life completely changes. Shortness of breath, majority of the day. Any slight exercise or just walking around within my home can cause shortness of breath. Climbing a flight of stairs, doing any sort of housework, so that generally gets taken over by my wife or my children. I try and do as much as I can to keep myself as normal as possible, but there is some days where I just don't do any of it at all. But I still try to always keep doing as much as I can. And I push myself, that's my problem. I push too far. And then when I'm trying to get back to normal, I've done too much, so it takes us a longer period. But I think that's the only way I can adjust to having a normal life and not keep thinking about the illness that I have inside of us. My partner I've been with since I was 18-year-old. We have now been married 20 years this year. We celebrated that in August gone. Been together since we were both 18, and as I say, I'm 47 now, she's 46. The transition for her, at 18-year-old, you say, yeah, I've got a heart condition. Yeah, of course, yeah, great. Life will be fine. But throughout growing together over the last 20 odd years, she's had to be my rock, my stability, and take on a lot of things that she probably never ever dreamt she would, but wouldn't change either. I currently have 3 children. I want to be children young because of my condition. I always had this preset told by doctors from early age of, I was told I wouldn't get past the age of 3 or 4, 7 or 8, 13, 18, 25. So when I got the age of 18, I met my partner. I was like, I want kids young. She had the same idea. So we set off and had the first one. I was almost 19, she was 18. So we were very young, a little bit naive at the time, but it was the best thing we ever done. It pushed me to achieve more of my life. I now have 3 children. My youngest now is 21. She turned 21 in May this year, then a son 25, and my daughter 27. So I've got a full family, and that makes it much better. They're very protective of the dad. The eldest more protective because she spent a lot of time going to the hospital with us, understanding the illness. She's made a documentary about us when she done a media degree. The other 2 try to distance herself from it because he's do so much in my life and always wanting to keep doing things and breaking boundaries that I shouldn't break. They see me as I'm just dad, and I haven't got an illness. And they try not to admit it, but I think it scares them deep down, but they just keep it to themselves. So at the moment, I used to work full time. I did my entire life. Transitioned to part time about 3 or 4 years ago. Firstly, just doing 30 hours a week, and then when I left that role, I went down to 16 hours. My wife wanted us to try and take a step back from work. So what I did is I've worked within the NHS off and on throughout my career. I transitioned from a level band 3 in the NHS to a band 2. But because I had that transition, I kept the salary I was on at the same grade. So it meant effectively I wasn't losing much money dropping down. So I done medical records for quite some time. But when COVID hit, I couldn't go on site. So since then, I've just been doing admin work, data entry, just any simple task that can be trained and done at home. And it's frustrating because I did return back to site early August. And because of the policies in the trust at the moment, you have to be able to wear a mask. And unfortunately, it restricts my breathing so much. I was then told I just had to go back in and work back at home. So I really miss that, being able to just go into work and actually be part of something and have people around us. It's a very long day when you sat and your children are doing that. Well, the young adults are doing their thing and your wife's out to work. So I did then, when I started this work for 16 hours, I thought this is my opportunity to try and follow a passion I had years ago. So I looked at going back to uni. Didn't think I could get in, being out to study so long. So I went and spoke to them on an open evening. Me and my eldest daughter, she was there as always a support. Sat down for the meeting and they started asking her, so what does she want to do? Why is she here? And I went, no, it's me. So that little bit of shock, but they went, all right, brilliant, even better. You know, it's like, oh, great, you were going to come back. She thought I was just there to support my daughter. Went through the interviews and stuff, showed them work I could create, but it was never my work. It was my creation. I painted, I drew it, but it was always like a copy of a Spider-Man or an Iron Man or a Marilyn Monroe. And that's why I wanted to do fine art as a degree. I wanted to find my voice and create work that solely comes from inside of me and my mind, rather than being this person who just replicate a picture and make it look exactly the same as the other one. So I'm in my third year now. Started in September, so that's a couple of months ago I started this year. And this year is all about the progression of where I am and who I am as an artist. And I've always worked within disability and stuff like that within my artwork. As of starting the course, finding ways to tell the story from an able-bodied disabled person, and also just my journey itself in art. And this year I want to focus on bringing so much more attention to hidden disability and the fact that you have to be in the chair to be seen. And I just hate that idea that it needs to now stop. So I want to find as many different art mediums, sculpture, video, drawing, paint, whatever it is, to get that message across and I push it everywhere I go, on Instagram, Facebook. I contact MPs. I'm always trying to do something or try and create something. I've had over 27 years of abuse, from the first driving my car and get me disabled badge. And it's not stopping. So I need to get a voice out there. And I think there's a lot of people that feel the same as me, but it's so hard to connect to them and get our voices together. There's so many just little pockets of groups doing different individual things. I want to make something where everyone comes together and our voice then can be heard and actually be recognised alongside these people who debate about, racism or the actual recycling, the environment. Our voice is just as important as somebody in a wheelchair, as somebody who's not. A person in a wheelchair doesn't get attacked when they pull in the bay, doesn't get verbally assaulted, doesn't get threatened with assault. We do. When we look well, we have people attack us every day. If they're annoyed or think they're standing up for justice, they're actually doing worse. So that's in the art. So having PH, is one of the biggest bugbears to me is my physical appearance. I keep myself well groomed. I'm 6 foot tall. I've got very dark skin. I go out in the sun and I look like I've been an Italian waiter for months. So I look very healthy and I've got a very good glow about us. And I've always had that from the age of 17, 18, when I could get out and about. We had more sunshine and stuff. I get dark every year. It's weird. My kids joke about it. So Dad's a hot dog. And what happened is all throughout all these years as soon as I got the badge, as soon as I was able to park in a disabled bay and have the facilities that's there for me, walking around, no one challenges you. No one thinks anything of you in a supermarket or anything. You pull out an inhaler, nobody thinks anything. Oh no, he's got asthma, bless. But as soon as you park in that bin, I'm thinking an 18-year-old back then, and was NWA, Ice Cube and stuff like that, and that was the music I listened to. So I pulled into a disabled bin that's playing quite loud in a supermarket. It started then, yeah. It would start with the elderly first. They would be the first to judge, point, tell us I shouldn't be in that bay. And then transition to traffic wardens. And at one point, I was walking through Newcastle city centre. I was marched back to my car by a traffic warden to get my badge out to show me photo on the badge. And then I had to start doing my journey again. So, for someone who can't really walk a lot, to have to walk back to his car and then start his journey again just to appease this person because they didn't believe I was disabled. And then more throughout life, it just become more and more apparent to the point that my wife's screaming at people in the car parks because it's like, she's showing how naive are you? You don't have to be in a wheelchair to be disabled. And it wasn't until about the last decade a lot more people start talking about hidden disability. It seemed to be a shunned thing prior to that. Yeah, at the end of the day, anything I can do, because I'll try to stand up for those who won't, because they can't, they're too scared, or they haven't got the health to do it anymore, or they've just give up because they felt it was going on deaf ears. I'm never going to give up. I'll keep shouting until I can't shout anymore.